The extant Goetheanum is not the first. By Rudolf Steiner, the second Swiss structure is commemorative of the first, particularly as an inversion of its predecessor. The wooden forms for the poured concrete technique of the second Goetheanum basically echoed the original wooden domes. Though both versions are considered heavily representative of Expressionism and modernist aesthetics, Steiner expressed an intention for the second Goetheanum to show the progression of anthroposophy that occurred since 1922. Since the anthroposophic movement and its spiritual focus slowed during World War II, Steiner's model for the second Goetheanum may be seen as a form that is still very modernist and expressive with its organic volumes, but with an added heaviness. Although its sculptural concrete form is viewed as a blend between the site's topography, Steiner rejected suggestions that the building was responding to its natural surroundings. In Steiner's own design methods and formulations of anthroposophy, his specific belief in spirituality dealt with an etheric or astral body that balanced the physical body for all entities. Anthroposophy is a spiritual movement centered around humans which reflects on questions of humanity and artistic necessity. This movement was partially rooted in Goethe's theory of natural life cycles and studies in biology, so although Steiner sheds off most ideas of biomimicry, nature is still not far from the implications of his design forces. Color experience and the objective nature of colors, which Steiner claimed to have spiritual significance, particularly pink and green, are prominently visible with the windows of the current Goetheanum's auditorium. In his lectures on the essence of color, he also insists that color is not a function of nature, but of an object's possession of soul, spirit, or life. The diffuse coloring of light from the outside minimizes any remaining opportunity for permeability or fluidity of interior to exterior in this cavern-like main space. The colors of the space and glass emulate the sun and earth. In Steiner's belief, the interaction between the two celestial bodies creates reactions that are felt both physically and spiritually. Between those two bodies are the human soul. As the reactions are felt through the senses as heat, light, and gravity, our spiritual and physical experiences meet. Through those conceptions of nature and experience, there's an intent to develop faculties of perceptive imagination and intuition through cultivating a form of thinking independent of sensory experience. Upon entry, the visitor moves from a direct connection to nature to direct views of nature, next to an inhibited view of anything other than the architecture's interior, and finally landing at the building's center, where natural light is filtered by the architecture and reformed by its interior. This is Goetheanum II's Metamorphosis. To reinforce and inform occupants of anthroposophical tenets, Steiner designed a procession and interiority which guides people through the process of releasing external perception as reasoning behind structural and systematic happenings of their surroundings. This process draws them toward deeper introspection or spiritual awareness as a driver of evolution and generative form. Its form directly expresses its function. The building seems to tightly contain the workings of the students within, except for terraces at the second story that passively engage the world beyond the Goetheanum. The programmatic focus is the auditorium, a space Steiner intended explicitly for performances and lectures, centering the active artistic education present in the Goetheanum's own classes today. While the link between a spiritual, pragmatic, and artistic education serves the students by silencing the exterior, the process of projecting spirits toward creation and learning is not without critique. There are inherent contradictions. The gravity each body and soul meets in anthroposophical theory is the result of empathy. This is one of many natural occurrences which observers can relate to and influence how we build or create. Disregarding the interconnectivity between nature, its evolution, and our bodily responses cannot be a completely successful spiritual or educational endeavor. If we forget that there is a city or something else other than our building, then gravity ceases to exist. The context and very force that lets us realize that we have a spirit has lost its meaning. There is some level of empathy written into the tenets of anthroposophical teachings which acknowledge parts as a member of a whole, and in some sense, Steiner goes further than modern mechanisystems by calling out nature's influence. But the movement is short of progressive because we must lose it all, even nature, to truly know the spirit.